Inkcharm Project presents.
Hello, and welcome to Warparty, an original setting for tabletop role-playing games. Today we're going to explore a simple map of the known world, get context on chunks of the continent that are hosting Warparty campaigns, and set the stage for future lore videos. If you find your curiosity piqued during this video, submit your questions to the comments section or join us on Patreon to demand the new lore you want to see. Reisende is the continent that dominates our setting, a name synonymous with the world at large. From the impassable mountains of the west to the desert barriers to the east, Reisende's geography is full of wonders and walls alike. Most of the continent has been explored or settled over the 5 eras. Spare its frozen northern reaches, present-day Reisende is largely dominated by forces of empire. Its southern jungles are ruled by the Royal Clove, a kingdom whose size far outstretches its ability to project power. Many dwelling in the far south of Clove's northeast arm ignore kingdom decrees, focusing instead on village life and the necessities of survival in a vicious jungle. Clove suffers from a lack of magic traditions and few institutions dedicated to arcane discovery. As such, strict laws protect and monitor their citizens with an aptitude for magic, and natural-born mages are often spirited away to the capital. The Coran state oversees a large temperate region with strong borders and rigid internal structures of governance. Nearly all of its citizens are Kora, a fine feathered race of bipedal avians. They benefit from a system of mandatory public education in which hatchlings learn the state's history, then choose to dedicate themselves to a rigorous study of medicine, religion, or the investigative process. The finest students are selected to become mages within the state military academy, eventually transforming into loyal enforcers of the state. This military focus couples with the Coran state land policy, reserving much of their territory to be leased to hopefuls seeking a fresh start. The towns and villages they create lay under the military's protection, although those who fail to pay find themselves at the sharp end of a Kora warrior's blade. The last great power of Reisende holds borders on the Coran state's western side and Clove's northern face. The Hua Empire controls vast swaths of fertile valleys, steep mountains, and mysterious forests. More impressively, with imperial fleets, temple fleets, and merchant fleets alike, the Hua Empire projects influence across the Taimon Ocean and East Lakes as well. Moreover, the Hua standard of metal coinage has grown so trusted as to become accepted across Reisende, even favored by traders over local standards of barter up north and Clove crystal to the south. As a final note on Hua imperial exceptionalism, might, magic, and machinery proliferate within their borders. The Huaren are seemingly loved by fate, something which allows even their dedicated mages to survive well into adulthood, despite the nation lacking institutions of arcane learning on par with the Coran state. From here, the presence of empire lessens. Though Clove, state, and Hua imperial powers are still felt on the Taimon Ocean, Reisende's northern lands are a lawless place. Einar clans and tribes dot the landscape, ranging in size from villages to walled cities, each led by a clan father or tribe mother, and all standing independent. Every 2 years, representatives from Einar tribes and clans travel to either West Einken or East Einken, alternating city each time. This is the largest gathering of Einar leadership, a feast to discuss issues, solutions, and occasionally start some conflicts of their own. Although actions are seldom taken by the end of a Hearthbright summit, They help to maintain bonds amongst Einar clans and tribes, reinforce a spirit of cooperation, despite occasional infighting, and highlight the absence of any clan representation to ensure that they are checked on. Smaller local summits occur during years between Hearthbright summits, and it is at these smaller meetings where most actionable decisions end up being made in these otherwise lawless territories. As far north as one can go, we find the Omiri. Like the Einar, Omiri are not a force of empire. Instead, they are scattered clans of nomadic penguin herders, long since ousted from their jungle homeland. As amphibians trapped on tundra ground, the Omiri turn to technology out of necessity. Most nomads center around a snow-crawling machine that protects and incubates their eggs and livestock. These also house the necessary equipment to maintain their bodysuits, pipe-laden gear that grants moisture and heat, essential to Omiri survival amidst a snowstorm. Omiri nomadic life always migrates back to the few permanent settlements so far north, where limited industry and agriculture produce essentials to keep the nomads and their machines running. The East Lakes region has nations and territories of all parties discussed here, each vying for their own slice of freshwater paradise. To the far west, Reisende terminates in massive, impassable mountains. Kobold pods emerge from here every few years, and, coupled with the story of Anfaru, the great armored dragon crossing the Taimon to a continent veiled by hostile waters, what lies beyond has become known as the Land of Dragons. To the far east lay a great desert. The Royal Clove has established temples on its edge, but with the exception of nomadic Blacktooth Einar clans, few brave these sands to discover where they lead. Explorers claim the Taimon Ocean has a southern edge covered in ice, just as the lawless north leads to tundra and a frozen cap. Now, as to our campaigns. The Book of Winter's Wealth takes place within the Hua Empire, and has left off at Qingting, a major city on the Immortal River. This essential waterway connects rural imperial lands with the essential ports of the capital and its neighboring cities. This capital city is called Yanfu Palace, named for the sprawling seat of power held within it, which holds the same title. This is where the Book of Reflections begins, as our crew prepares to set sail for West Einken, all the way across the Taimon Ocean to the north. Meanwhile, the Book of Dreadful Tales sees Tetrad traveling around the Korin state's northwest border, exorcising evil and weeding out charlatans. They often exit the state, ranging into the lawless north. I hope you all found this informative. We have more lore videos planned for the future, with higher production value. Again, please comment here or join us on Patreon to make your voice heard as we plan what the next pieces of lore will be and perhaps even the next campaign. Have a wonderful day.